Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight's episode of Cigar Chronicles. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ernest Tilley, and unfortunately, my co-host Tremont Arnold can't be here tonight due to a previous engagement. We would like to thank BS3 Network, Roku TV, and all of our other podcast affiliates. We would like to thank our sponsors, Styles by Trey, Soul Brothers Cigars, Wing Snob, not Wing Stop. The motto is they just have better wings. Now that we got that all out the way, let's get to the introduction of our esteemed guest. And first, we have Iro Omiri, who is a Prairie View A&M graduate from Dallas, Texas. She's running for Texas 4th Congressional District in Tarrant County. Welcome, Ms. Omiri.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have Doc Shelby, who graduated from Bovina High School in 1974 and was inducted into the McMurray Ring of Honor at McMurray University. He had a 31-year professional career with Frito-Lay. Mr. Shelby is running to represent every man, woman, and child in the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Welcome, Mr. Shelby.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Next, we have Sheena King, who graduated from the University of North Texas with a bachelor's in business administration. She has retail management experience in over 25 years as a business leader in the insurance and financial services. Sheena is a candidate for Texas State Representative House District 61. Welcome, Ms. King.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. We also have Mr. Frederick Nickens, who's currently a high school history teacher and very active in his community and the Collin County Democratic Party, where he currently serves as the party's vice chair and precinct chair. He's running for chair of the Collin County Democratic Party. Thank you for joining, Mr. Nickens.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. We're just going to jump right in here tonight's question, and we'll start with Mr. Shelby, and that is, what inspires you?
Well, I just wanted to get involved and help the community the best I could, and this office will give me the best opportunity to help as many people as possible.
Thank you so much. Ms. King.
Yes. So for me, it's all about family. It's about my children. It's about your children. It's about our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. So I just wanted to make sure that we provided a future path for them. So that inspires me, the hope for the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ms. Omiri.
Yeah. So, similar to Ms. King is, the children. I'm a former educator, and, just working with children and having them always look up to us and expect us to lead them down the right pathway has always been what has inspired me to always do my best and encourage others to do the same.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Nickens.
Well, I'm simple. What inspires me is my God, my family, and my country. That's what inspires me and keeps me going every day.
That's awesome. Can't get no better than that. All right. I guess we'll start with Ms. King. And what got you interested in running for public office?
Yeah, just looking around, just wanting to see more hope and optimism. Didn't see a lot of that recently. And so I was inspired to try and bring some of that back to Texas. Bring that back into our political arena, because without it, we're lost, right? So we need that to help us move forward. So just wanted to bring some love and light to Texas.
Oh, thank you so much. Ms. Omiri.
So, what inspired me to actually get involved is being able to like bring representation across the board. It's not only just about race; it's about the gender representation, representation based on age and generation, and being able to really be able to speak to the issues and bring truth to power, pretty much.
Okay. Mr. Shelby.
Yes, it was whenever I was listening to our politicians speaking, I couldn't hear them talking about anything that affected my life or the people that were around me. So then I stepped out and put together an exploratory team. And then when we stepped out and started visiting the rural counties that we were representing at that time, I found out that a lot of people felt that way. But what really inspired me to get involved is 90% of the people didn't even know their representative's name.
Mhm.
If you asked them what their congressional representative's name was, nobody had an answer. But that's not their fault. That's not their fault, because if somebody is going to represent you, whether it's good or bad, you should at least know their name, right? And that's why come my speeches, my anytime that I start something, it's I'm representing every man, woman, and child, because I feel like politicians have brainwashed us. They come in and tell you 5 minutes about what you need. They give you 3 minutes of how they're going to fix it, and then they disappear till the next voting cycle. So that's why I'm here, to change that cycle.
Oh yeah, we have Mr. Ben Sutter. He said that's a great point there, Mr. Shelby. Thank you for that, Mr. Nick.
Really quick, generational change. I got tired of watching in this county, Democrat after Democrat after Democrat step up, run, lose, and I think that had to be with there was no real strategy to assist these candidates to win. And as chair, that's part of the chair's business to create a winnable strategy to help these candidates be successful. And that's literally why I'm about selfless service, helping others. This is not about me. It's about everybody on this call. And like Doc said, every man, woman, and child, right? And that's what this is about. That's why I'm running.
There you go. There you have it. He's spoken. Okay, good, great points that y'all all have given with regards to the purpose of running. So let me ask you this: what have been some of the obstacles that you face, one by being Democrats in Collin County and even abroad during this I guess we'll say this term cycle, and even before, if you had aspirations before running for office? We'll start with Mr. Nickens.
Well, it's funny being a Democrat in this county is unique. It's tough business here because this whole county is run by Republicans, right? So, we run our caucuses, we get in, we run our primaries, we get in, and then we lose. So I think what the problem is being a candidate and as a Democrat in this county, going out there and saying that you're going to make change and you're going to win. People don't believe you,
Right?
Because they don't have a record to show that you won. So I think that's the toughest part, convincing the voters that the crop that we have in front of them now is a viable winning entity, which I know they are, and they can go out there and win. That's the hardest thing I think for Democrats in this county.
That's a great point, Ms. King.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So even though we are represented only by Republican leadership and have been for, I don't even know how long, maybe 20 years or so, and top to bottom across the state, that's the case, but that is not who we are. And so to Nick's point, we have so much diversity in this county. We have so much diversity in this state. Our diversity is probably even greater, if not approaching New York's diversity. So we need to have representatives that look like that, right? Of the people, for the people. And that's why it's a beautiful thing, this democracy that we have. We get to choose. And so we have to exercise that vote. We have to choose and hold them accountable, right? Don't just allow them to go uncontested every cycle. So the biggest piece for me is just the willingness for other people to rally around and support to Nick's point, the viability, because it is possible. More is possible. We have to believe it, and we have to go out and execute on that.
Right.
There you go. That's it. That's it. Mrs. Shelby.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that I really don't want to say anything negative about the people that I'm fixing to try to go out and convince to vote for me, because that is just not the way it works. But I think that they have been neglected. I think that the Democratic Party has been beaten down so long that the people out there that are going to vote for us, they don't vote. And we complain because our people don't go to the polls. But it's because they haven't had a reason to. I mean, it's either go to the poll and vote for the worst Republican, or just stay at home and don't vote. So that's the choices that you have. And so, and to Nick's mention, we need to give them something viable. And I think everybody on this page is going to put forth an effort to give them something viable to vote for. It's not as much the message as it is the messenger. Okay, that's where I see the trick at. Okay, so in saying that, I'll save that rest for later because I'm getting into that other question.
All right, Ms. Amiri.
Yeah, so along the same lines of what everybody has said, what I will say, and I'm going to continue to say, is that right now, even when we look at the last voter turnout, Collin County does have one of the higher voter turnouts, but it's only at 49%. So that means one out of two people are not voting. And people love to say that Texas is a red state, Collin County is a conservative county, but honestly, we just don't vote. So we can't really say if we are a conservative or a liberal county because we don't have the track record to show that out of the number of people who are actually registered to vote, what we will all vote out, come out and vote. So if we even had an 80% voter turnout and it was red, then we can say, oh, Collin County is conservative, but we just don't vote. And I think, what I've come to realize is that in Collin County, we're very comfortable. We have made it in life, so like we mentioned earlier, no matter who's in office, nobody can really mess with what we have going on because we have worked so hard to establish ourselves. But with that being said, what's going on is that because we are inactive and we're not as active as we should be, what's going to end up happening is that if we can continue to allow people that don't represent our best interests, they're going to take us back to what we said we were never going back to. And that's what's going to be the problem. So right now we're cool, we're comfortable because, hey, we making money, we got big houses, everybody riding Benzes and stuff, and we living nice out here. We living nice in Collin County, but little by little, and we've seen it, even I live in Plano. A long time ago, when I was a kid, Plano was the, what we see now in McKinney and Frisco. It was the, the creme de la creme. If you made it to Plano, you was somebody. But right now, Plano is starting to deteriorate. It's starting to, have things that have not, that we haven't seen in a long time. We have neighborhoods that don't have the resources. We have areas that are, being foreclosed on because people aren't able to stay in their homes. So if we don't act, what's going to happen is that the things that we see in other communities that, where people who don't meet our needs and they only want to invest in, a small pocket, that will start to become a cancer and it will start to spread everywhere. And then we'll become part of something we never even thought would happen. And it will just happen under our eyes because we've just been in our own, comfort zone. So we have to vote and we have to, and as a candidate, I think the hardest part is, getting us out of our comfort zone and seeing what's at risk, what's at play by not being engaged and not making sure that everybody turns out and vote.
That's right.
There you go. Hey. Message.
Hello?
Right. Messenger. Thank you, Rose.
We had a comment from the face. Why don't you vote? And I think Mr. Shelby kind of knocked it out the park. Is more of the messenger That's the issue versus, and well, I guess it would be both the message and the messenger, making sure they get out there. Did anyone want to elaborate on that to address the question of why don't they vote?
I'll say it.
Okay.
Voting is a 3-step process in my mind. Voter registration, which is the easy part, right? You go out there with the green cards, white cards, and fill them out. That's good. Second phase is voter education. And the third part is getting them to the polls. And to go what Doc said, if you don't have the right messenger, and like what I said, if you don't have the right message, those things combine. And voter education, like Rose said, getting people to understand that what you have can be taken. If you don't exercise your free will to vote, that's why people don't vote, because they think they've gotten there, and we haven't put forth a good message or messenger to make them go vote. I mean, if think about this, when you go to church, if you don't like the preacher, you don't go back.
Right.
If he ain't telling you the good message, I mean, but if you love the preacher and the preacher's putting forth a good message, you show up every Sunday and sit on the front row.
Yep.
And that's where we at. It's literally that simple. We put it where the ghost can get it, right? We got to put forth good messages, a good message, and we educate them on what they can lose and what they're going to lose. And then people will show up. It's that simple.
Then you say it's free. I say it's free for now, right? We have to protect that, because as somebody mentioned, they're trying to take us backwards, and we don't need to go backwards on anything. We need to be moving forward. And so while it's free, we need people to go and understand the importance of it. So even getting people to work the elections, right? That helps them with that education piece. That helps them with that engagement piece. So we need to get more active and stop, I think to Rose's point, stop being complacent, because freedom is not free. These rights, they could be taken away. So we have to be vigilant about it. We have to, that sense of urgency is what burns deep inside of me, because it can be taken away. We've seen it.
And another thing I want to also talk about that's also difficult is the investment into the political realm. As we are running and as we have candidates, getting the message out, getting to people, getting people to come together, that also takes additional, financial resources that sometimes are not as available to, especially candidates of color. It's harder for us to raise money. It's harder for us to get somebody to open up their checkbook and write $2,900. If you want to vote, donate. But it's hard. But I'm just gonna say, if you want to donate some money, follow me right there. But no,
you beat me to it.
I'm being, truthful. But we have to invest. We have to invest. Like when you look at the Republicans, all the Republican has to do is say, "Hey, I'm running," and the checkbooks. Just the floodgates of the money is open. Like people writing buku cash for candidates that don't even have a platform. They don't have a plan. They don't know, what's really going on. They're just getting money. And even though it's not about the money, because there are candidates who have raised a lot of money and still lost, But the thing is, the resources gives us the access to be able to, structure those messages, make sure people are getting the messages, because we have to circulate it. And it's only one of us, but it's so many people that need to hear the message. So as we go into our election, really consider, $5, $10, $20, $2,900, consider that as you are, tax season is coming up, give a little bit to a candidate you support, and it goes a long way.
And you don't have to limit it to one candidate. So let's spread that too, right? So there are multiple candidates.
Yeah, and for the House people, and for people who run in Texas, you can give them as much as you want. So if you want to go ahead and write over that entire, income tax return, go ahead and give it to us, and we're going to use it to get the things that we need.
I love it.
That is so true. Hey, everybody's welcome to give benevolent office. They'll accept it.
Open hands.
These comments are coming in, and I'm going to try to catch them as they come. One question from Facebook users: do you think people know what good politics looks like versus bad politics, and if so, and how it affects them? Mr. Shelby would like to take that question first.
Yes, I will. I'd like to take that question. Politics is a subject by itself. Okay, if I come to you with my 3 pillars: strengthening the healthcare, stimulating the economy, and a sensible immigration plan. Okay, I'm offering you 3 things that is important to me. But I want you to know that if and when I win this 3rd congressional district, I will be holding town hall meetings so that I can find out what issues that are important to you. Because see, as a representative, my job is to go out and accomplish the things that you feel that are going to make your life more prosperous. Okay. My 3 pillars, yes, they're important to me, but I'm going to be accountable to you. You're going to be my boss. So a good politician knows that. A bad politician shows up for 3 minutes, tells you what he's going to do for you for 5, and doesn't show up again. I promise you, Doc Shelby will be in your neighborhoods finding out what is going on and what he can do for you from the federal level. Okay. And then that's my answer. That's the answer between a good politician and a bad politician. And now I should say that's the difference between a representative and a politician. Doc Shelby is going to be your representative. Okay.
Hey, there you have it. Ms. King, would you like to add on to that?
I was going to borrow something that Nick often says. And really, I think from an education perspective, that ballot, if you think about when you go in to vote, a lot of people, I worked the elections. I was an election judge. And a lot of people would go in and they're in and out in 1 minute. It's like, whoa, there's like 20 people on the ballot. That was pretty quick. And we don't have that single button anymore to push, right? Mm-hmm. So people felt like they had done their job when they voted for the top of the ticket, right? If they voted for the president or if they voted for whoever was at the top, they felt like they had done their job. Mm-hmm. Really, they need to flip that ballot upside down and think about what's going to impact their lives every day starts at the bottom, right? I think Fred is a Democratic chair, when elected, right? He's going to be the one that helps lead the party. So he's at the bottom of the ballot. Then we go to the judges. We go to the sheriffs and all of those folks. Those folks impact your lives every single day. Yep. I say registering to vote is great. Protesting is good, but voting is the best. We talk about the voice of the people and how can we make our voices heard. We have a lot of work to do. So we got to get people understanding all those things need to happen because all those things are going to collectively bring us to where we want to get to.
Great. Either Ms. Amiru or Fred, would you like to add on that? You're good.
Yeah, I would just like to say when you think about good and bad politicians, right? Good and bad can be subjective too. What I think is good may not be good for somebody else. So it takes a person to look at it from their individual standpoint and what they are looking for. When it comes to education, do you want a good education system or does it not really matter? And what you do is you find out what it is that matters to you and you find candidates that align with what you need. That's how you are able to pick a good candidate for you, because we can't do a blanket one size fits all. We have to look at candidates and we have to be able to decipher who is going to be able to truly, benefit the goals and the mission, the goals that you have set for you and your family.
That's true. That is so true.
I got something. I think a good politician, and here it is, people vote not on issues, they vote on feelings, right? If you make me feel good, I'm okay with that. You want a good politician, like Rose said, and one size doesn't fit all. What's good for you may be bad for me. What you have to I think what I look for in a politician is one that connects with me and understands my struggle, can identify and emphasize and sympathize with me and understand that, hey, he gets me. Or she gets me. And if you don't get me, you don't get my vote.
Yeah.
Period.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree.
That's it. Hey, that's it. Yeah. We have another Facebook. You say, state that we've seen a ton of bad politics recently, so it should be easy identifying the need and who can make a difference. I think that kind of almost put in context everything that y'all stated in one comment. So I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Awesome.
I guess with all good things, there have to come some bad. So my question to all of you, and we'll start with Ms. Amiri.
Okay.
How would you rate from a scale of 1 to 10 our Hot Wheels Greg Abbott, with 1 being the worst, 10 being the better?
Well, I would give him, if I could give him like a negative rating, I would, because I feel that the problem, and I'm going to explain why. I feel that the problem with our governor right now is that he has completely, he's desperate right now. And when people get desperate, they do things out of desperation. He knows that the things, especially during the COVID pandemic, when COVID first hit, I was in New York, and I can attest that there was at least a 3-month head start that Texas had to see what was going on across the country and be able to adequately prepare itself for what was coming. Because you literally, if you look at the map, you literally start from the borders and make its way to the middle. And by the time it got to Texas, it was so rampant. And considering the fact that it wasn't even most places weren't even high density, you have rural areas where people are spread out. And that right there really put a ding. It was already bad, the other things he was doing, but that right there really, kind of tanked any chances he had. And out of desperation, he started, feeding into what he believes is the base. But I'll go back to say that Texas is not a conservative state. We are a non-voting state. And what's going to happen is that he is going to be held accountable. And the only way he's going to be held accountable is if we actually show up to the polls. Mm-hmm. I personally feel that Greg Abbott he's not the same Secretary of State who was giving out recognitions and spoke at my alma mater when we graduated, because he was actually the speaker at my graduation.
Oh, wow.
And that's when he was Secretary of State. And that's not the same Greg Abbott that we elected. He talked about how he overcame when he was running and he got hit by a tree, and that's how he ended up in a wheelchair. He talked about how, he wanted to see change. And the Greg Abbott we see today is not the same person. And when somebody is not doing what they need to do, especially as the head of state, you have to remove them. Nowhere in this world does somebody fumble a job and get to keep it. Mm-hmm. So he's fumbled on women's rights. He's fumbled on healthcare. He's even fumbled on giving rural communities access to the internet. So people can't even scroll and see what we're doing right now because he didn't want to give them no internet. And it took Beto actually calling him out for him to decide, okay, well, let me go ahead and give some money to, the rural community so they don't get upset. But we shouldn't have leadership like that. It shouldn't have to take me or somebody putting the mirror on you for you to act right and do what you need to do for the people you say you love and for the people you say you represent or are going to govern. So I give Mr. Abbott a -1 because there's lots of room for improvement. And for me to be able to vote for him, he would have to do I don't know. It's because right now it's dead. I don't know. I can't see myself doing it.
Wow. Mr. Nickens.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I'm going to go back to my grandfather. He said, we judge people by the company they keep. Dan Paxton. He runs in that circles and he lets those two gentlemen run rampant and say crazy things and do crazy things, and he allows it because it panders to his abilities, right, or inabilities. He talks out of his mouth. On Monday he says something, on Tuesday he says something else. He's like that little dock. He like that little thing on top of your house when the wind's blowing, whatever the way the wind blowing, he roll with
it. Yeah.
Turbine.
Yeah, he that thing right there.
Yeah.
And that when I talked to you about a politician that I can trust, I can't trust him because I don't know what he's going to say next because of the character and the company he keeps. He doesn't rein in the people that he needs to rein in. He lets them run wild and say bad things about constituents in the state, right? Dan Patrick said what? Black people cause COVID. That's the craziest thing I ever heard in my life, right? Black people cause COVID, right? That didn't make sense. You got the attorney general suing schools over masks, right? Mask mandates, right? We got criminals running around here, but we suing over masks. You know, and he's not reeling them in, and we laugh at that, but we talking about someone suing over a cloth. We ain't talking about the robe of Jesus. We're talking about a cloth that somebody made in a sweatshop, probably. And we suing over that, and we got reproductive rights. We got health care problems. We live in this county. Think about it like this: Collin County has 1.3 million people, and we do not have a public hospital.
Amen.
People in this county have to go all the way to Parkland. That's the nearest hospital, public.
Yes.
But we suing about cloths. He's not reining in the people around him. So I judge him on the company he keeps. So I agree. He gets a -1 for me because he, as a leader, you got to be able to be around good character company, or you got to get them out the way so you can do the business of the people.
There you go. Ms. King.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know how much more I can add to that they have said. Right, a mouthful. You know, one thing I will say, it's like a report card, right? So these elections, this is our opportunity, right? We don't have to accept the bad grades. We don't have to accept the F that he receives, right? And I agree with the negative. I thought I was going to be the only one to say negative, but negative is accurate. So he definitely gets an F on this report card, right? So what do you do with that, right? The only thing I would add that hasn't already been said is the storm, Uri. I mean, how can we forget? We're in winter right now. February is coming. And it just reminds me all over again, right? What could happen? And it doesn't have to be this way. I mean, there were so many opportunities in this legislative session, the normal one, the special session number 1, special session number 2, special session number 3. And those were not the priorities. The people were not his priorities. He doesn't care about the people of Texas. And as the chief of the people in Texas, as a leader of the people in Texas, that needs to be his number 1 priority. But it was not. He had other priorities that were given to him probably on a sheet of paper from somebody else that he executed on flawlessly, surgically, with precision. And they did not involve protecting rights. They involved taking rights away. And that is not the type of person we need leading this state.
I agree. Right. Mr. Shelby?
Yes, I would like to add to what Roe and what Nick has said in their statements, because Texas leads the nation in uninsured and underinsured population. Texas leads the nation in the loss of hospital beds and emergency services. I didn't know that you had to go to Parkland from Collin County. I did not know that, and that's a great thing to know, because you know I've been out in the rural areas, and the rural areas put up with that constantly. And Road, they don't have internet out in the rural areas, so they can't do telemarketing or telemedicine. Okay, the senior citizens in the rural areas and the people that can't afford or can't travel, they're lost.
Yep.
Sheena, you're true. He does not care about the population of Texas. People don't realize it, that Governor Abbott appoints the people on our insurance commission. So when you go and pay out the gayuse for insurance, that's Governor Abbott's doings. Those are his people that are charging you. Okay. The loss of hospitals, the closing of hospitals. Commerce, Texas is right down the road from us. They closed their emergency room, and this is a community that supports university, and they closed their emergency room. That shouldn't be heard of in the 21st century in the great nation of the, I'm sorry, not a nation, but the great state of Texas. Okay? The great state of Texas.
Yes, sir.
I know I'm trying to pull funny here, but I know it's not funny because we have people dying.
Sad.
We have senior citizens. We have people, and what makes it? We talk about the message. What makes it so bad is the rural areas, they vote conservative.
Yep.
And we're the ones that are trying to put everything in place. So strengthening rural health care, the economy, and a sensible immigration plan, I think that we should message to where we can reach those people. But because there's something missing when somebody votes against it. If somebody gives you a $10 bill and you give it back to them, there's something missing there. Right. There's something missing, especially when your life is up for grabs here. And so I just wanted to add, but think about that. Texas leads the nation in those statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Texas, of all places. And Governor Abbott, the row, -1. I give him a -1.
Yeah. Let's go. He's going backward. The only one is negative because negative is going backwards. So
that's right.
You want to be
that's
clear
right.
So people don't be like, oh, we're picking on Greg Abbott. -1 means that he's going backwards.
Backwards.
He's going forward.
And he's trying to take us backwards too. He's trying to take us backwards by his action and his inaction.
That's the biggest piece that folks need to realize. That he's taking us backwards. That needs to be the slogan. A couple of Facebook users have stated on here, if you don't get me, you don't get my vote. Yes, thank you, Mr. Nickens. One of the Facebook
plain language.
Another Facebook user said he doesn't even get a 1. And another Facebook user stated, CNN says Texas is going in the wrong direction because of Governor Abbott. 50% of voters surveyed disapprove of him.
Yeah.
So that's straight to your point, Ms. Amiri. I believe Doc Shelby will fight for health care for all the citizens of Texas 3 and the whole state of Texas. So that's some good comments that folks have made. We appreciate your comments.
May I add something, Ernie? May I add something?
Yes, sir.
That's a great statement, and whoever wrote that, I appreciate you because I do. I really do, because when you start getting out to Bowie County and Texarkana and those people aren't represented out there. We have representatives in the 4th Congressional District and the 3rd Congressional District. But think about the people in Mount Pleasant, Texas, and Mount Vernon and Texarkana and Jefferson, Texas. Those people aren't represented, and those are the rural people that don't have hospitals and they don't have emergency services. Yep. And yes, sir, when I go to Washington, D.C. and I start speaking up, I will have those people in my mind too, because hey, they're Texans. They're Texans. And those imaginary lines, we should blow them up. Those imaginary lines. That's another farce about them doing the gerrymandering, or what is it called when they do the redistricting? They stick us in these imaginary lines, and that's a bunch of crap too, I think.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. We had another Facebook user, and we kind of touched on it with regards to the message and messenger. But if y'all like to add on to it, the question was, how do you get the party to support the minorities that are running for elected positions? We want to like take that on.
Yeah. So when you talk about supporting minority candidates, even though we have the party, it really is the voter, because even if you take the party right now, if I can think of it, it's probably about 200 people, but there's 770,000 people in District 4. So we can't depend on the party to be able to support us. We depend on the voters. So it's me, it's my family, it's my friends, my neighbors, people I sometimes don't talk to. We have to get together and we have to share that message and make sure that, we're showing up, we make that plan, and that we're encouraging others to do the same, carpooling to the polls, marching to the polls. Like, I think that should be, especially for everybody who was protesting all last year. Yes. This is the time to protest. You grab your group, y'all march to the polls. That sends a message. That gets people's attention. So even if for some odd reason we don't win, at least now the people who do end up winning know that we're coming and we're coming for those seats. So we want to win this year. And for us to win this year, we have to turn out. And research shows, the data shows that when voters turn out, the people who are supposed to be representing that community win, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. It takes voter turnout.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say this. Texas has the most black folks in the United States.
Period.
Hands down.
I'm gonna say that again.
Mhm.
Texas has the most black folks in the United States.
I did not
So
know that.
to answer that question,
Mhm.
if black folks went out and voted and supported minority candidates on the screen, they would win with ease.
Period.
Literally. That simple. If you want to support minority candidates, when they put themselves out there in the public eye to be scrutinized, back them up. If you go back to when Jesse Jackson was running for president, funny thing happened. Louis Farrakhan said he told the nation, told the world, not that brother. And he was referring to them doing what they did to Dr. King. Not that brother. He put them on notice. That was the support Jesse needed at that moment, right? What these candidates and myself, what we need is, we need for you to, and Rose said we need your dollars. We do. Well, I ain't gonna lie. But what we need more is for you to show up on election day, which is what? Starts early voting, starts Valentine's Day. So bring your boo to the polls and then take her on out to dinner. Show up early, vote, and get your vote counted and vote for us. And I tell you, I promise you, it'll be generational change.
Yes.
Think about what Obama did for generations when little kids saw a black president. Think about what the Williams sisters did for tennis when young black girls saw them playing tennis, right? With beads in their hair and braids, right? That was inspirational.
It was. It was.
If we see Sheena King, Roll Meir, Doc Shelby, Frederick Nickens, Irvin Barrett, right? If we see all those people, Lee Merritt, we see those people up there, think about what it will do for generations of people that look like them and say, hey, I can.
That's right.
I will. And now I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
That's how you support us.
That's well said, because you know what?
Yeah.
You can't be what you can't see.
That's right.
So we need that support. We need it. So that voting piece, that is huge. If you haven't already registered to vote, please check your voting status to make sure that you are registered. Please, that is so important.
It is.
And then you got to get out to the polls and vote. Like Rose said, we have to have a plan, and we have to help with the platform. Sometimes there's not enough communication. Not enough people are on this broadcast. As great as it is, we need more people. So we need you to reshare this. We need you to tell somebody, to tell somebody, to tell somebody. Then we need you to make sure that you support us, right? Those dollars are not going into our pockets, right? They are resources. They are giving us the platform, the bench strength to be able to tell more people, to get the message out, right? We are the underdogs, but we are not unbeatable, right? They are not unbeatable. Excuse me.
That's right. No, you're good. You're
We
right.
have the strength. We have the numbers. We have the numbers. We just have to act like we want to win. We have to act like we know, right? Like your mama used to say, when you leave this house, you're representing me. We have to act like you're representing all of us. And don't allow them to tell us any different. To Nick's point, we have the largest number of African Americans in the state. That was shocking to me. Shocking. I
Me
will
too.
tell you this.
I never dreamed it.
Just the fact that Collin County, we tend to vote early. So that early voting is critically important.
Mhm.
It's not the last day, but that first day, that will be our measuring stick. So please, Valentine's Day, I'm sure the polls open at 7. They always open at 7. So you can go before, you even have breakfast with your boo. Go to the polls.
Yeah, exactly.
Coffee, Starbucks, all of it.
Great.
These comments are coming in. One person said, yes, march to the polls. Yes, time to defy history.
Hello, yes.
Do it.
Another Facebook user stated, I'm loving what I'm seeing and hearing. I was waiting to get on, but I'm loving just listening and messaging. Great job. 2 weeks to get it done.
Yeah, and the deadline to register for the primary is January the 31st. So we have a lot of time. Like, get registered. Like, let's make this happen, because
I know I have some voter
we're not
registration.
going back. We can only go forward. So we got to get everybody out.
Hey, I keep the voter registrations in my car. I call them
the truck. They're ready.
I got them in the car.
We will come to you.
Only type of bricks I worry about.
And just a shameless plug. Myself and Tremont, every Monday we try to go out to the DPS office and catch votes and register them to vote. So we plan on continuing to do that as well. Barclay Hayes, he said, "An awesome panel, nothing but truth spoken here." So, oh man, I'm sorry if I miss you. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to keep up with these with the questions. I mean, with the comments. The main people show up to vote in Collin County are more concerned with friendly business policies. Democratic policies are perceived as bad for business. Please speak to this perception. Would anyone like to take that on?
Yeah, I'll take that one on. I'll take that on, because we were talking about healthcare a while ago, and about the loss of hospital beds, and hospitals are on a budget. I mean, they're on a budget, but they have to turn a profit. Okay, and everybody talks about the expansion of Medicaid, Medicare, and everybody talks about it as socialism, right? But let's look at it as a tool. Let's look at it as a tool so that we can get people in Collin County and Hunt County and in the rural areas with some type of insurance, so that when those procedures are taken care of, those procedures are paid for. Okay? So that in return, me and you, we have insurance, correct? So we pay out the pocket for those very people that do not have insurance. Right. So if we could get the Medicaid expansion, use it as a tool to secure those hospitals and those emergency services, then we can work on getting the money out of your pocket, putting more money in your pocket, because your insurance premiums should go down. Okay. The only somebody that is going to be strong enough to put a stop on the growth of expense of Medicaid, or not expensive Medicaid, but the expense of medicine and hospitalization, the only person or only organization is going to be government. Government is the only thing big enough to take on large pharmacies in the medical fields. That they're the only ones that are going to be able to put a cap on that. So in saying that, with more money in your pocket and more money in your paycheck, your employer should be even happier, because now he's going to have to get that out of his resume even. So I think that Democrats are doing a lot of things that are good for business. Good for business. You just take that along.
I'll add something here, and I'm not as educated as my esteemed colleagues here on this panel. I keep it simple. I put it where the goats can get it. So I'm gonna break it real simple. If Democratic policies are bad for business, and if Republican policies are killing people, how that business gonna run if it don't have people to spend money in the business or work at the business?
That's right.
So if the policy is, if Democratic policies are for the people, to keep people alive and well, like Doc said, and give them insurance and health care and all that, so they can go out and spend the money in said business, then I don't know. I'm a simple man. Keep people alive, they can spend money. Yeah. That's good for business.
How about actually having a livable wage as well? Right. So Democrats are trying to help in that space too.
Yes.
So do not allow them to give you misinformation, to not give credit where credit is due. Do not allow that to be what you hear in your ear. That is noise. They are trying to brainwash. I think I heard somebody say that before, brainwash you into believing something that is not real. You know what's real. You know what's happening for you and your family, those people around you, your neighbors, the people who aren't even at the kitchen table anymore. And why is that? There's a reason. Again, it gets back to who is in your corner, who is for you, who is looking out for you and your family.
Yes.
That's the Democratic Party. So
let me just,
get that misinformation out of the pipeline.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I would like to say that and being in Collin County specifically right now, Collin County got about $200 million this past year from the federal government, who it was approved by the Democrats. None of the Republicans approved it. And then in Collin County, they took $334 million to put back into a prison that they are building right now. That is not good for business. Even the business grants that they were supposed to give out to the small businesses in Collin County, they gypped them, and they still have money in reserve that they still haven't allocated to small businesses. They didn't even tell the small businesses that that money was there. You had to have known somebody that knew that the money was there for you to have gone to get it. Right now, we're trying to get this Build Back Better Act together so we can get it passed. That is money for businesses. If you do construction, if you are a truck driver, that is money that will allow you to do business with the federal government and get these government contracts that are millions of dollars so that you can run your business. The policies that the Democrats are trying to put in place is trying to get everybody access to capital. There's different avenues to capital, especially for our business, because I'm a small business owner. And there's money out there to be made, but the thing is that we have people in place who purposely want to keep you away from the money, but they give it to their partners, they give it to their friends, they give it to the people that aren't even qualified for the funds. That is not what's good for business. And of course, yes, they like to give you these dog whistles. Oh, if you let Democrats come, it's socialism. No. Corporate, there is rich, wealthy, welfare and wealthy socialism, where you see companies like, and no offense, because I love Amazon and everybody, I'm gonna buy something later on, but they make trillions of dollars. Apple is a $3 trillion business, and the thing is, they don't pay no taxes. So nowhere in the world do you get to do business somewhere and then don't pay back to the house. That's not good for business, and it's not good for people, and it's going to eventually starve the economy to where it's going to be upside down. And then of course, who's going to end up with the government by the time the economy is upside down? The Democrats, and then we're going to get blamed for it being messed up because we're there to try to save it. Once again, same thing that happened in 2008 when Obama inherited an economy that was messed up by the Republicans that were doing nonsense policies 8 years leading up to it. And it's the same thing we're seeing now. And the thing is that we can't allow them to trick us once. What was that? Bush. Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me, you can't fool me again. Like, they can't run the same play on us. And they're doing it. They literally are running the same play and they're winning on that. So we have to, one, get educated. Like Frederick said, education is really important. Facebook going back and forth, these Facebook conversations is good to start it, but we have to actually back it up with real facts. Don't let your cousins and your neighbors gas you on something that's not true. Look it up, question the information, and actually see what's going on.
Ooh, boy, y'all on fire. Let me put y'all out over here, boy. Y'all, it's heating up. We actually over on time, but we started a little late, so I'm gonna make an executive decision to address one more question, and it's gonna be specifically for the House district, which will be Ms. King. How can we bring more awareness around House district races and the importance of our community getting more engaged in voting in that area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I know a lot of attention is paid at the national level, and that matters. But honestly, your state, your local government impacts you way more. So understanding the issues just think about this past legislative session. I think Ro laid it out, right? So we had women's rights that were somehow brought up. I don't know where it came from, but it somehow became a priority. That was at the state level. Voting rights, that's at the state level. We have to know this stuff is important. Healthcare, they're stifling the money, right? They have this whole power grab of where the money is going, and it's not going to the places it needs to go. That's at the state level. We have to understand what's happening at the state level. The state of Texas, I keep thinking back to when I was making my first job and what was the minimum wage. It hasn't gone up too much from there. Again, back to that livable wage. That's at the state level. There are some things that we have to talk about at the state level. In House districts, state representatives, again, representative to what Doc mentioned before, somebody needs to look like you, know your issues, care about you, and to be able to represent you in the way that you need to be represented. And so that's what we need when we talk about state representatives. And again, they're up for election every 2 years. Why? Because they need to be checked and replaced and held accountable every 2 years.
Exactly.
Wow. Facebook user, and if we could, let's kind of limit this, hopefully, to maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds max. How can we work on messaging and bring it down to a third grade level? Jet Magazine was written on a Jet Magazine was written on a third grade level. Thus, how can we duplicate our messaging in the same way? We'll start with you, Mr. Nickens.
It's really easy. First, change leadership. I'm gonna say that right now, because the leadership has to understand the people. The leadership has to be in the mud with the people. The leadership has to be down there to understand what the issues are, and that's what a true leader is. A leader doesn't sit in the ivory tower. You change the leadership, and you bring in like-minded people who are going to be like-minded for the people, and you'll get results for the people. And that's how you change the messaging.
There you have it.
Awesome. That's great.
Ms. King.
You said 30 seconds. I don't know if I can do that. Bring it
As
down.
close as you can.
To your point, right? It's just how can we keep it simple?
Yeah.
It's time. The time is now. We have had enough. 20 years is a long time to be doing this. You can't expect different results if you keep doing the same thing, right? So we need to change. The time is now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ms. Rowe.
So you got to just go follow the facts. Follow facts. You can't argue facts. I can't argue that kids don't read on level. The numbers are there. We can't argue that people don't have health care. The numbers are there. So follow the facts and make a sound decision.
Perfect. And Mr. Shelby.
Yes, I think that Nick hit it on the head when he was talking about if you can't feel me, then you can't have my vote, right? And I think that all of my pillars, I have 3 pillars, are all humanistic issues. And I think that people can relate to something that they can benefit that's going to help them from. And I think that is one of the most critical ways in order to calm the smoke, as Sheena said, the smoke that the Republican Party pushes out, because we have to put forth a message that people can feel. They're doing it, but only in a negative way. We have to do it in a positive manner, to where people can actually reach out and feel us feeling them. And yes, I will go with what Nick said on that one.
Perfect.
We have to know that more is out there, right? Better is attainable. I think that's the other piece. People they've lost sight of that.
Yes.
It's possible.
It is possible.
Yeah. And then like America, honestly, and people laugh at me when I say this, but America could be like an Oprah show where everybody gets what they want. You get this, you get this, you get that. Like we can get what we want, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. We can have it. It can be balanced, and that's where change comes, when there's balance and equity and inclusion. We have to bring a balance that works for everybody, and that's possible. But like Frederick said, change your leadership.
That's it.
You got to remember, this is America. This is the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. And we got people dying because they're freezing in their beds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nick, you say change leadership?
Change your leadership.
Change leadership.
Change it.
Well, we got we have more comments. Preach.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, y'all. Valentine's Day. Make sure show us some love. Show us some love.
Christopher Johnson stated, "Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you for your sacrifice and your service." Another Facebook user said, "Amen. Y'all are on it." Another Facebook user, change leadership. So there you woke up some folks tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And for the sake, as far as the final word, for everyone. We'll start with Frederick and just advise why constituents should vote for you.
Change leadership. We can win. We can win with the right leadership in place. We have great candidates. The Democratic ticket this time is so diversified. We have Black women, Black men. We have Hispanic women, Hispanic men, white men. Here's the thing. When you look at the other side of the aisle, they all think and look alike. If you want diversity, if you want inclusion, if you want change, we are offering you what you asked for. Now we need you to do your part and show up to the polls and support us so we can deliver. And here's the thing. I want you, when you deliver it to us, hold us accountable.
Yes.
Please hold us accountable, because we are not beyond reproach.
There you go.
Vote for us. And here's the last thing I'm going to say real quick.
Yes, sir.
I teach history. How dare a woman or a person of color not vote after what people before us, our grandmamas and grandpapas and great grandfathers who lost their lives, jobs, and livelihoods just to vote? How dare we not show up? How dare we not?
There you have it. Thank you, Mr. Nickens. We'll go to Ms. King.
Yeah, just building on that last statement about voting. We're in January, right? Dr. King's birthday is coming up. We're going to be celebrating that, right? The day on of service instead of the day off. The best way you can help to preserve his legacy is to make sure you're registered to vote, and then to make sure you go vote, right? We cannot sleep on this. This is so serious. This democracy that we hold, it is fragile. It is so fragile. And if we don't preserve it, if we don't fight the way they fought, it will be taken from us. It's not a foreign thought. We have to be serious. We have to be vigilant about that. We have to get out there and vote. But the reason you should vote for me in particular, I'm just going to put it out there again, right? Because I care about people, right? My mission is to help you. And the only way I can help you is if you go and vote, right? It does me no good to run this race, to raise this money, to talk about these issues, to go out and meet with voters if there's not support at the ballot box. So please go vote. If you want to see change, if you want somebody who's going to actually get in there, ask questions, and deliver on some things that actually will impact you and the lives of your family, generation after generation, that's a vote for me.
Thank you, Ms. King. Next, Mr. Shelby.
Yes, I would like to say, Ernest, thank you for allowing us to have this word tonight. And I am so proud to be on this screen with this panel. This is a history being made right here. I can feel it, right? But Doc Shelby, he's going to bring 3 pillars: healthcare, economy, and sensible immigration plan. But he's also going to bring honesty, transparency, and accountability. And I'm not going to move. I don't live in a gated community. I will be in your neighborhoods. I will be trying to find out what your issues are. I have my 3, but I need to know what your issues are so I can truly represent you. I like for you to say that word when you go to the poll, represent, because that's going to think about Doc Shelby, right? Vote for Doc Shelby, and we're going to have a change of leadership. And I want to thank you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shelby. Last but not least, Ms. Rose.
Oh man, I feel like I gotta lead it off heavy. So I'm gonna refer back to like we are Christians in here and everything, and I'm gonna refer back to that. Like they say, faith without work is dead. If you guys have the faith, I got that work. I'm about to come in here. I'm gonna get the stuff done. Whatever, I know what we need, because I feel like Frederick said, I feel the pain. I know what it's like to work hard and get things done. I know what it's like to have adversity. I'm a Black woman. My whole life has been about overcoming adversity. There's nothing that scares me. It's nothing that can hold us back. And I know that because this is what we have done. So like I said, all I need y'all to do is have faith, because I'm going to get that work done. We're going to get the education together. We're going to get the healthcare. We're going to get the businesses up and going. We're going to make sure that we never go back to what our ancestors and the people that came before us worked so hard to take us from.
Right.
And like Frederick said, it's time to change leadership. You know, once again, my name is Ro, and they got to go. It's not for them to go.
I love it.
In closing, I want to thank. That's good. That's a bumper sticker right there.
You know, that just came right out the head. So thank you. I'm like, you're right. I'm about to put it on the bumper sticker.
That's great.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to first say thank you guys, ladies and gents, for attending this podcast. It means a lot to us. Because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to join us. So I thank you humbly. Thank you for joining our podcast. I also want to give a shout out to BS3 Network, Roku TV, all of our affiliates, our sponsors, Trey, Styles by Trey, Wing Snob, not Wing Stop.
Because their wings are better.
Yeah, the wings are just better. And in closing, again, we want to thank you all. And if the cast would just stay on at the end of this broadcast, we want to thank you again for joining. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you for joining Cigar Chronicles, and we're out.